Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. It's time to live all good, and we're doing that with our next person, our next guest, our next coach, our next fun man and friend. Lee Grigsby's here joining us again. Live, love, and laugh is the theme of today's show. I'm just going to make that up.
I love it. I love it. How are you, Jill? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you. So we're live on Zoom as well. Hence, I could see his background today, the live, love, and laugh. So for those of you wondering, what is she talking about? Lee, introduce yourself to us, please.
Sure. I am Lee Grigsby, the founder and coach of LiveAllGood Coaching. You can find me at liveallgood.com. You can also, I want to say a quick second about liveallgood.com. I've revamped my client testimonials. So if you take a look, you'll see how it's divided into one-to-one coaching, group coaching, and some of the mentoring I've done. So I just want to put that out there, liveallgood.com. You can also reach me, liveallgood, the number 44 at gmail.com. You can find me on social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, LiveAllGood Coaching. And you can find me on Facebook, Lee Grigsby. I just realized I said LinkedIn. Yes, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. Instagram, Facebook. I'm pretty much everywhere. I'm hard to not see. So
good. And how do we get started each and every time, Lee?
Oh yeah, and I got some good stuff today.
What going we like first, to do, then. Folks. Go ahead.
What we like to do is, folks, we are so conditioned as people to focus on what's not working, what we're not doing well. So it's so important, and I love starting with the wins. What's going good? What's working well? And I promise you that nothing is too small. There's no such thing as a small win. The more you do it, the better you become at positive thinking. So that's Perfect. Why we do it.
All right. So let's start with your wins. Tell me what's going on this week.
Well, I will start with this win. And being a busy professional and mom, you understand this very well, right? You're running, ripping around, either working, errands, whatever it is. So I actually had some time this weekend, right, to kind of just sit back, relax. And for Christmas, we got my daughter a Nintendo Switch. Okay. Got her a couple games. The one is the Mario Golf, I think it is, and the other one is Just Dance. I don't know the titles. I haven't. Anyhow, the win is that. So we had time, and she said, Dad, why don't we play the game? And we played the golf game before, and I was like, okay, you know what? Let's move some stuff around. Like, we're in a small row house, but we moved the furniture around, whatever, cleared enough space for us to do the dance game. Okay. So the win was the fun that we had doing the dance game, learning how to do it with the controllers. And I want to mention a hidden win. The hidden win is, and again, you know this because you got kids, right? So let's frame this over the last 2.5 years. It's been a struggle period just with the pandemic and figuring out how your kids can have fun, right? It was such a joy. It was such a pleasure every time I hear her or see her having fun, not thinking about what's going on. And then, like, I was included.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing, especially for, 12, 13-year-old man. They're getting into those years where, okay, my parents ignore them,
cool.
Whatever. I don't like them. Right. So that was just a huge win. Like, we had a blast. It was fun. I took a video of her. I wish I could share it right now. Like, I took a video of her. She took a video of me doing it. We're cracking up. And it's funny because we were both out of breath.
Of course.
So I just, like, folks, if you're not taking anything away from what I want you to take away is, yes, like, we all got bills to pay. Yes, we've got tons and tons of stuff that we got to think about. We have obligations. We have all kind of stuff. Sometimes you have to make time for the fun, right? Because if you forget what it's all about, why am I working? Why am I coaching? Why am I trying to be a better father? Why am I trying to be a better husband? Why am I trying to be a better man? Right? It's for those moments like that. That's what reminds you of it. And I had fun too. It wasn't like I did it just for her. it was fun. And sometimes you just need to have fun, period.
Beautifully
So
said. Good win.
it was, I really wish I could share the videos because uh, I just hearing us crack up, it was hilarious. So
Beautiful. Good, Lee. I,
yeah,
I would
absolutely.
I would say
But
my win was catching up with my mom. My mom has passed away 5 years now, so she has a lot of cousins, and I don't get
hmm
to see them except at wakes and funerals. So we
sure.
planned a luncheon on Sunday, and I got to see my mom's cousin. So, yeah,
Yes,
we went out and had a big long table at a restaurant, and everyone got together, had fun, saw the cousins' kids, and it was
I
just.
love
I
it.
know my mom would have appreciated it, and my kids came, and my sister, and it was a good family fun celebration, and I felt good about doing something like that as well. Yeah.
Yes, yes, and you know what, Joe, I'm so with you, right? I've been through when you get together and it's for the funerals, right?
Yeah.
And you're always talking to the cousins and family. Like now, what happens is you start laughing and reminiscing, right, at the funeral, having it's best of time as you can in a sad situation, and then you start saying, "Man, we have to do this more often. Why are we only getting together at funerals?" Right?
Yep. Always happens.
I
Yep.
I love it that you took advantage of that and so many people came. Like
Yep.
you said, I literally got that
You
clear
picture the
vision, right? The long table, all the laughter, the movement, the
kids running
what
rampant. Yeah. But
some
yes.
people might call it chaos, right?
Mhm.
But that's a good kind of chaos
Yeah.
because you're in the moment, the kids are having fun, you get to see it in family, and it's for a good reason.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
you get to like it fills you, right? Oh
Absolutely did.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. My kids got
Amazing.
to meet new cousins and it was exciting. So good.
I love it. I love it. That's a great win. You see, folks, that's how it works. That like I don't know if our listeners can feel it, but the energy just raised up a few notches. You
Hmm.
see, because we're talking about something that is positive. We're
Positive. And
and and when we talk about it, when we share it with each other, like we then revisit those good feelings. You
yep.
see, so beautiful, beautiful win. Love it.
Good job. Thank you.
Got to
All
take
right.
a quick drink here.
Good. Oh, it's like
Hmm.
disappearing in the background in your glass. That was cool.
Oh,
All right.
uh,
So what do we have on tap for today, Mr. Grigsby?
so I know that frequently we talk about how to manage life, right? How to manage stress.
Mm-hmm.
So before I jump into the tools, there's an exercise that is really really helpful. I just want to mention that understand the body does not differentiate between stress.
Okay.
Okay, whether it's physical stress, emotional stress,
Mm-hmm.
mental stress, the body doesn't care. All it knows is stress, right? Like I had a killer workout on Saturday. Fantastic, right? Had my
Right.
buddy with me. That was stress. Now, while
Uh-huh.
that's
Well,
positive
positive
stress, right?
stress.
We're the ones that are terming it positive and negative. Okay. Excuse me. Again, the body doesn't know. So when we're talking about stress, there really are five states. Okay. The first state is when you're feeling great. And I'm gonna glance at my notes here because I want to make sure I really
Yeah,
get
of
this
course.
right. Second state is when you're feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Third state is when you're feeling a little stressed. That can include like anxiety or nervous feelings. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth state is when you're definitely stressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you might start feeling um, maybe a tight shoulder, or you feel like your back is tightening up. Some maybe you have a headache or your neck, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The fifth state is when you are completely stressed out and about to lose it. Like you feel like the very next thing, whatever happens, is just going to push you over the edge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what I want to do is kind of go through in my training, what we called this was emotional brain training.
Okay.
Okay. So being able to take a step back, right? Take a deep breath and you address what you're feeling at that moment. And you go through these different states. So when you try to apply this, now clearly, um, if you're in state five, right? I'm going to jump ahead in my notes here because state five is like I said, you feel like you're about to lose it, right? So that's really damage control. Okay. Hopefully when you're going through this emotional brain training, you're not at stage 5. You're not at level 5. But I'm going to mention what happens in state 5, and then I'll come back to it later as we go through everything.
Okay.
Okay. But state 5 is you want to just be still if you can. You want to tell yourself not to judge the situation. You want to say, I will not judge myself right now. And you want to tell yourself this will pass. Okay. You're literally, this is just damage control. You're not trying to assess any emotions. You're not trying to figure out what tools you need to move to a better state. You are literally just trying to breathe and not judge the situation,
Okay.
not judge yourself, and tell yourself this is going to pass. Okay.
Okay.
So I want to, typically when we go through this exercise, when you start, you take a deep breath and you really are getting in touch with what's going on. All right. So if you take a deep breath and you're feeling good, right? Or you're feeling great, like state 1, what you want to do is, okay, how did you get to that moment? What's going on? How can you recreate that feeling? How can you keep it going? Right?
Okay.
What has gone on up until this moment? And when you do that, then you go ahead and take another deep breath and you move on about your day. Okay. So now when you take this deep breath and you are feeling good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Feeling good is a good thing, but now you can take a moment to address any emotions that kind of come up when you're doing this assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So some of the feelings that you might assess, some of the negative feelings are, are you angry? Are you sad? Are you guilty? Are you afraid of anything? Are you lonely? Are you grateful? Right. So as you're going through the negative feelings, you heard I mentioned grateful as
Yes.
the last thing.
Mm-hmm.
So go through the negative ones and you start to replace them with the positive feelings, right?
Okay.
So if I'm feeling guilty, okay, well, what am I feeling guilty for, right? Maybe and this is a true story, by the way. So for an example, when I took my daughter to school the other day, um, she, carrying some bags and stuff out of the house,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, as a parent, as a father, as an adult, I was like, hey, you know what? Why don't you, before we go out the door, put those things in your backpack? That way it's easier. We get in the car. No, no, no. I'm just doing it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, folks, this is real deal. I should have just been quiet.
Yep.
Should have just let her figure it out. But I let that frustrate me a little bit. And so we get into the car. Now she's got no space to put all these things together. And I kind of fussed a little bit, right? It wasn't like yelling or anything, but it was like, see, I told you, you should just listen to me, right? So that I was feeling guilty for that. But I also assessed it as, okay, I was being realistic. Okay. I didn't purposely hurt her feelings, but I realized that frustrated me and I should have just been quiet, let her figure it out. Sometimes, people don't need your insight or don't need your advice, even though you have a better way. Okay. That's unsolicited advice. Doesn't have to happen.
Okay.
But as I realized, okay, is that what can I do to get rid of the guilty feeling? Right.
Mm-hmm.
I started realizing that I'm grateful that I have the time to take her to school every morning. I'm grateful that we get to have these conversations, that she gets to see I'm real. I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not, because I do tell her when I'm frustrated with her, but I also balance that out with telling
Yeah.
her when I'm proud of her, when I'm
Yeah.
happy of her,
Aw.
about what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I work through state 2, right?
Okay.
Like I was feeling good, but yeah, I started feeling guilty about that because I don't want to start her day like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She's going to go through it enough. So that's kind of state 2, right? Once you get through state 2, you want to identify out of all of those emotions, you want to identify the 3 strongest feelings, right? Now, let me turn my camera. Sorry. Looks like I was getting washed out here by the light.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It happens. Don't worry.
So when you're identifying those three strongest feelings, what do you need? Right. So again, when I was feeling guilty, what did I need to do?
Hmm.
I assessed the situation of why I felt guilty.
Hmm.
Right. Is there any support you need? Is there anyone you need to involve in order to, replace those
Yep.
negative feelings with the positive feelings?
Hmm.
Luckily, I did not. It just required a little bit more reflection. Okay. So now let's talk about state three. So again, you take this deep breath, you assess how you feel, and you're like, ooh, okay, I'm feeling a little stressed, right? Now, at this point, what you want to do, we kind of call this emotional house cleaning. Okay. Um, if you're feeling a little stressed, you want to use these sentences, right? It's almost like I statements. So you want to say, and keep it, oh no, sorry, this was state three. I almost jumped ahead to another state.
Okay.
But you want to start saying, I feel angry that,
Hmm.
or I feel afraid that, I
Hmm.
feel guilty that, right? So using and then after you're assessing that, you start replacing the negatives with the
Got it.
positives.
With.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I'll use that same example, right? I
Hmm.
felt guilty that I started my daughter's day
Oh.
off by maybe frustrating her by giving her unsolicited advice, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But then I can replace that with I feel secure or I feel proud that I'm being the best father I can be. I feel happy that I get to openly communicate with her. You
Yeah.
see? So I'm replacing the negative I statement, negative feeling with the positive feeling.
Positive. Hmm.
Yeah. Because again, I have another chance to go ahead and continue to communicate with her. And folks, let me give you a secret tip. Parents, especially parents, it's okay to apologize to your kids.
Yep. And then they say, "I
It's
told you so." It's right back at you. They're so smart. Yeah.
oh, they will bring
Hmm.
everything right back to you. You think they don't listen?
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh
they'll tell
yeah.
you.
Hmm.
But it's fair, right? Because that's what you're trying to model. That's what you're
Yep.
teaching them.
Hmm.
So it is definitely okay to tell your kids that you apologize. Not necessarily for
Yep.
a punishment, but maybe for the way that you said
Okay.
something. Okay.
Makes sense. Yep.
So that's just a parenting tip that I
Hmm.
try to use. All right. So now let's move on to state four. Okay. Again, you take that deep breath, you're addressing how you feel, and you're like, man, I'm really stressed out right now. Okay. So in this instance, like the I statements from state three, if you're in state four, you want to address the facts. You don't want to start addressing the emotions first. Okay. You want to address the facts. So, like if you're, again, angry or if you're, hurt, if you're sad, address the specific fact of why you are angry. Right. So, for instance, um, I don't think my example of the guilt fits here. But if I'm angry, like if you're in, you might be able to relate to this, Jill, being in traffic. I am angry that people keep cutting me off when that's going to cause an accident and they don't know who's behind them. They're not paying attention to the road, all of that, right? You see how that starts
Hmm.
to,
Yeah. Hmm.
but that was putting emotion into that. You
Yeah.
see, that wasn't really the fact.
Yeah.
The fact is, I'm angry that this person cut me off and almost got me into an accident with my daughter or my wife or whoever in the car.
Hmm.
That's what the fact is. You don't address how you feel about it. Just say, I'm angry at this situation.
Got
Because
it.
once you can specify it, then you can work on how do I feel about it. Okay. But you have to be able to get that real situation, the factual situation, because if you address the emotion first, it makes the situation 100 times different than what reality is.
Got it.
if that makes sense. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. So in state 4, when you address the facts, then what you want to do is think about what your expectation was of that fact, right? I don't want to call it unreasonable, but that's just
But
what's in the training. So what was your expectation, right? Traffic example. I'm angry that people keep cutting me off. My unreasonable expectation was that people think of others like I do, right?
yes, true.
And my unreasonable expectation is that people are thinking about, okay, what's best for everybody on the road? What's
There you
best for the car
go.
in
Yep.
front of me, behind
Mm-hmm.
me, right? And you want to change that, right? So now, what is my reasonable expectation? All right. The changing that to a reasonable expectation means, okay, I cannot control what anyone else does.
Mm-hmm.
What I can do is be aware while I'm driving so that I can do the best I can not to be in an accident with other people.
Mm-hmm.
That's changing that expectation. A small side note here, every time you disrupt that pattern, that literally there's studies done on this in the brain
Mm-hmm.
that it literally is short circuit, it's cutting that circuit of the negative thought
Out.
and it's
Mm-hmm.
rewiring it in the brain so that you are able to assess factually without addressing or attaching emotion to that fact. So the more you can do that, the more
More.
you literally begin to rewire your brain into factual thinking and factual assessments and being able to calm down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Lower your stress level, because that's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Lower your stress level to assess situations and how you feel.
Mm. In a more positive way. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Because again, the overall arching theme, the
Mm-hmm.
body does not care about whatever stress it is. It just knows it's under stress.
Got it.
So the sooner and the faster you can address what is causing that stress, the healthier you will be, right?
Yeah.
There's the what's it called? Cortisol, right? That is the hormone that's released when the body is stressed.
Yeah.
I think I may have mentioned this before, but that hormone is what causes the stress, which then helps cause weight gain and those kind of things. But then you get more stressed out because you're gaining weight, then you can't do, like, oh man, well now I can't work out, I can't do this. You see that pattern?
Oh
You see
yeah.
the pattern of
yes.
negative thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it really is this
Oh,
spiral
it just.
that that gets created in
mm-hmm.
your own head, in your own
Yep.
head. So you want to then replace, okay, hold on, pump the brakes. Let me address, let me stop, let me breathe. Where am I right now?
Yeah.
How do I feel? Right? And again, go
Mm.
through these different states.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, if we get to if you're in state 5, you take this breath. State 5 really is about damage control. State 5 is not trying to address emotions.
Mm-hmm.
State 5 is not trying to address situations. It really is about getting to a moment where you can begin to do those things. You see, state 5, again, I, excuse me, I said this earlier, but I'll say it again. You tell yourself, and it doesn't have to be these specific words, folks, but in some form or fashion, you
Yeah.
want to take a moment and tell yourself, I'm not judging the
Okay.
situation. I am not judging myself, and this moment will pass. You keep telling yourself that and those affirmations, those
Mm-hmm.
positive things until you can breathe a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Because the whole point of this exercise is being
Mm.
able to move to the next state of less stress. That's the whole point, right? So, as we said, there are these 5 states of being under stress.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in any of the states, right? If you're in state 1, great. Continue that. Assess how you got there and keep that going, right? If you're in any of the other states, you do those, you assess, you try to, um, figure out the emotion that you're feeling and replace the negative with the positive.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in any of the other states that are more stressed, we gave you the tools, right? But you want to move from state 5 to state 4, state 4 to state 3, and state 3 to state 2, state 2 to state 1. That is what emotional brain training, excuse me, is about. And it really is. I know I mentioned this. I want you to take this away. Every time you disrupt that negative thought process, every time you disrupt the negative pattern, it is rewiring your brain to think in a positive way. It's rewiring your brain to manage the stress level in a positive way, which is much better for your body. That's the overall arching theme.
Better for our body. Better for us.
Absolutely. So to tie it all in so that you can live all good. Sorry, I had to.
You had to. Yeah.
I had to. It was too easy. It was sitting out there. But yeah, that is emotional brain training. That is some of the exercises I've talked about before. Actually, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but there's an exercise that you can de-stress the body very easily. I think we tried it, or I mentioned it. It's called 5-5-7 breathing, where you would inhale deeply, do deep breathing for 5 seconds, hold it for 5, and then you exhale for 7. When you do that, that literally begins to lower the stress levels. So maybe, maybe there's some listeners out there who are talking about, Lee, you know what? I get it. I hear those 5 states. I'm in state 7, which, okay, no, so they're past state 5. I get it. I get it. Even more immediate damage control than what I mentioned is that breathing, right? If you can't remove yourself from the situation, be wherever it is you are and do the deep breathing, because that will literally de-stress the body. If you do that 10 times, that's about 2 minutes. And that will get you to a state where you can at least assess, okay, now what state am I in?
Yeah.
That's how you want to manage stress. Absolutely.
I like that breathing too. I'm doing it as you've been speaking the whole time now. I'm like, I forgot about that. 5-5-7, right? Wait.
Yeah,
right?
5-5-7. And if you can't do 5-5-7, try like 3-3-5, right? The point of the 2-second exhale longer is you're bringing in fresh air. You're bringing in, I don't want to be too out of the box here, but you're bringing in fresh possibilities, right? Fresh thinking with that fresh breath. You're exhaling the negativity with the extra 2 seconds. That's where the extra 2 seconds comes from. So the more you do that, you keep getting rid of the excess negativity.
Yep, yeah. And we're getting more positive in the meantime.
Absolutely.
All
Absolutely.
right, Lee, time to go. Yes. Tell us how we get in touch with you.
Oh my gosh, didn't realize. I'm glad we got it all in.
Yeah, we did.
Yes. Well, folks, if you want to get in touch with me, have a free discovery session, you can reach me at 202-455-6104. You can reach me at LiveAllGood, the number 44 at gmail.com. You can also find me at LiveAllGood.com and on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LiveAllGood Coaching. I mentioned LinkedIn.
Yes.
Lee Grigsby, LiveAllGood Coaching.
You're so good, yeah.
And you can find me at Lee Grigsby on Facebook as well.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Lee. Always a pleasure. Looking forward to those wins. You have a great day.
You too,
we'll
Jill.
Catch up next week. Have a great one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You too.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.